Hello and welcome back in to Foolish Club Media. I am Steven Serda. It's week one of the NFL season, I guess, because it's Friday night and the Kansas City Chiefs, for whatever reason, are in Brazil, Rocky. And they dropped their week one contest against the Los Angeles Chargers 27-21. Tons of stuff to talk about coming out of this game. Obviously, a really impressive game by the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert. And, I believe the Chargers were going to be a problem much more so than the Denver Broncos, who, for whatever reason, the Broncos and Bo Nix seem to be a really popular pick to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs this season. But lots to get into from tonight's contest. And really, before we start dissecting everything, Rocky, simply, this wasn't good enough. This wasn't good enough from the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is the only reason this was a game at all. Mahomes made some incredible plays. He put them on his back after we just saw snap after snap, miscommunication, players not knowing where they're supposed to line up, missed blocking assignments on the defensive side. It was the same thing. Simply, the Chargers looks like the better coach team overall tonight, Rocky. And really, if it wasn't for some incredible, magical, spectacular Patrick Mahomes plays, this would have been a straight up ass kicking because the Chargers were just better across the board tonight than the Kansas City Chiefs were.
Oh, 100%. And that's basically the gist of it, is that the better team won tonight. The team who played better won tonight. Like, the Chiefs had a shot down the stretch, but at no point in this game did you feel like they were playing better football tonight than the Chargers were. The Chargers just looked like the more complete unit. They were getting open easier. It sucks losing Xavier Worthy 3 plays into the game, right? Like, that sucks. But you have to hang your hat hang that a little bit on Andy Reid on what happened in the drives immediately following that. Is that you could tell the first 3 plays out of the gate were manufactured touches to Xavier Worthy. Like, you have to assume that this game plan was built like very largely, almost entirely around him, based upon their scripted plays in the beginning. And when he went out of the game, it really looked like they were scrambling to try to figure out, like, oh crap, what do we do now? And it was like, well, why are you putting all your eggs in that basket, first of all, right? Like, right off the bat. And then, on defense, they looked like they were in total disarray coming out of the gate. They had sand in their ass. They were slow to the ball. Like, the first half was just ugly football by the Kansas City Chiefs. And then down the stretch, like, the Chargers made more plays and the Chiefs had some crucial, just lapses on defense that we'll get into. And then, of course, there's a couple glaring problems with this. If this is what the Chiefs team is going to be this year, which I'm not convinced it is, it's only week one. Spagnuolo said last week, like, you don't really know what your defense is until week 6. So,
Sure.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. But if this is the version of the Chiefs we're going to get this year, you're right. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. There's some glaring problems.
Well, so I was sitting here thinking to myself tonight, because for all the excitement coming into the season, and we're all thankful that Rashee Rice is getting this suspension out of the way, and we don't have to sit here and wonder as the season goes on with this. Like, but then it's like, okay, well, can these guys hold things down until he gets back? Because we think that he is a special player and that he's going to be the lifeblood of this offense. Like, it was nice to see Travis Kelce score a long touchdown tonight. It was on a broken coverage play, but you know what? You take the wins where you can get them with a performance like this, Rocky. But like, what I was sitting here thinking tonight, because I saw some people online, talking about how, like, oh, the Chiefs just don't look that talented, and this roster is like, over the years, like, they just haven't added enough or whatever to that. And I think that's ridiculous. Like, I think this team is still exceptionally talented. I think they still have plenty of talent, like, across the board. But tonight they looked young and out of sorts. And I think it's even amplified by the fact that Xavier Worthy played 3 snaps and leaves the game. and now might be out for an unforeseen amount of time. Like we don't really know, because you could literally see from that first possession, and the first possession was garbage too, even with Worthy in the game. So don't get me wrong there. The Chiefs did not look like they were ready for what the Chargers were bringing to the table out of the gate tonight. But the Chiefs' first possession and the second possession, you could tell they were like, we want to push it. We want to take it downfield. And then they tried it one drive without Worthy in the game. And then on the following drive, they were like, yeah, let's go back to what we did in 2024. Everything's around the line of scrimmage. Everything's checked down. Everything's quick. And everything is just get the ball out of Mahomes' hands and let's just go on long scoring drives. And that's frustrating because we wanted to be past that. But I mean, last year it took catastrophic injuries for the Chiefs to not be able to play offense the way that they wanted. This year it takes a Rashee Rice suspension and another catastrophic injury that was caused by a teammate to Xavier Worthy, and all of a sudden we're right back where we were. And that's going to be tough for any team to navigate and manage. And again, the only reason that you were in this contest at all tonight is because Patrick Mahomes was just playing special football. But when I was sitting there watching it, like I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, man, what the Chiefs have gone through the last couple of years really reminds me of like Aaron Rodgers in his heyday, where like Rodgers had that early Super Bowl run when he became a starter. And then after that had a couple of seasons where they were like really, really good. Like one of the top teams in the NFL, like one of the best offenses in the league. And then when you have to start replacing guys, when you have to start navigating a quarterback making this much money and navigating veteran players, and then you don't have the luxury of players like prime Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, who literally never miss games, then you have to start figuring things out, and you have to start, and it starts to look uglier, and it starts to look more complicated, and it's not as easy. And that's what the Chiefs are reminding me of right now. Like they're reminding me of that post-dominant era of the Green Bay Packers, where they were still a playoff team every year. They were still a perennial Super Bowl contender by every estimation. They were still playing in championship games, even though they didn't make it to another Super Bowl. The difference is the Chiefs have made it to multiple Super Bowls because I think the coaching's better. I think all the circumstances are better, but it's just difficult. It's hard to watch, and it's frustrating because you see it there, and you see the special plays from Patrick Mahomes. Like you see how frustrated he gets and how upset he gets because football's so dependent on being able to rely on your teammates to execute and do the things that they're supposed to do. And that's what, like, I remember those days of Aaron Rodgers where you could see him get so frustrated because he was like, damn it, like it's there. Like it's there for us to do it. We just don't have the guys to execute. And I think the Chiefs do have the guys to execute now, Rocky. They just don't have them on the field right now. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do? They knew about the Rashee Rice thing, and that's fine. Supposedly, they've been preparing for this. They were expecting it. But, like, at the end of the day, Rocky, like, Tyquan Thornton, yeah, going to be a fun storyline this season. Did have a big deep play from Patrick Mahomes. He took another couple shots to him. Hollywood Brown has that big play at the end of the game, but Hollywood is not a yak guy. And if they need him to be that guy, it's going to be a really long season if Xavier Worthy is going to miss time. But it's just, you have to overcome these circumstances. And that's what most teams in the NFL have to do when they don't have players who are as special as Patrick Mahomes. And now the Chiefs are once again, after week one, having to navigate that. And it sucks. But it is what it is. Like, they still could have won this football game if it wasn't for some boneheaded plays that I definitely want to discuss. And the defense was a real problem tonight, but they're still so well coached. They still have the best quarterback in all of the NFL, and they can still win games. They're still going to be a playoff team even after a week one loss. This was just another really, really frustrating game that was reminiscent of everything that we saw throughout the entirety of the regular season in 2024.
Yeah, and with the receiving thing, like, no, yeah, the Chiefs may have been preparing for Rashee Rice to be out, but they obviously weren't preparing to lose Xavier Worthy. And part of their preparations for preparing for Rashee Rice to be out was Jalen Royals, and with him being out as well, it's like, it's not that the Chiefs are just down. They're like top two most explosive wide receivers. They're down three of their four 3 out of their 4 best wide receivers, if you want to be honest about it. And so,
and Rocky, even at that, yeah, you can say they've been preparing for it, but you can't just replicate like how well Rashee Rice knows the offense, like his chemistry with Patrick Mahomes, by having those guys during practice run occasionally some of the same routes that you're having Rashee Rice run. Like you simply can't do that. It's not a 1-for-1 replacement. I don't give a damn how much you practice it in training camp. It's not the same thing. And so you're trying to navigate all of that stuff, and it sucks. It's frustrating because we see the potential. Just got to get all these guys on the field together.
Oh, 100%. You got to get all these guys on the field together, and you got to get them running the right routes, running the right spacing, right? Like executing the offense as it's supposed to be executed. The Chiefs, it was clear that the Chargers had the more talented receiving core today. It wasn't even close. We'll get into the defense and everything, but I mean, Ladd McConkey was by far the best wide receiver on the football field today, and it wasn't even close. But before all that, I mean, I feel it sucks. Here's what sucks, Steven, is that I've never felt more justified in my opinion about Jawan Taylor than after tonight. And I'm so mad that I was right about him, because he was just an Achilles heel that was 2 steps forward, 1 step back whenever the Chiefs got anything going. Like, false starts continue to be an issue because he plays so upright. He can't pass block for crap. And then holding penalties. He is not a starting tackle in this league. And this whole idea that everybody is saying, well, like, you'll hear the apologists say, well, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. Listen, not that bad means not good enough. And I don't care if he's good for 7 plays in a row, because he's going to sink you for 3 straight plays and have a bad stretch of football that stops a drive when you need it the most. And I am so over watching Jawan Taylor play right tackle for this team. The offensive line is not better this year. They're better at left tackle, but they're not better as an offensive line. Kingsley got blown up a couple of plays in this game. Mahomes was able to avoid the rush and scramble, but the offensive line was not better today.
It wasn't better. There was a couple of plays like early in the game where Mahomes had all day, and I was like, okay, more of that, please. But it certainly wasn't anything close to what we saw from the Chargers offensive line. Now, I want to get into the defense, but let's stick on the offensive side of the ball, Rocky, because it really, really sucks to see Xavier Worthy leave the game like that, because I think Xavier Worthy can be a really, really good player for the Chiefs. Like, I think Xavier Worthy is so much more than just this fast guy who can beat you deep down the field because he's got insane speed. Like, I think he's a much better wide receiver than that. Like, I don't think he's just a deep threat who stretches the field. And so I was really excited to see him tonight. And, you know, it's football and it is what it is. And so that really sucks. I like Jalen Royals' potential, but we'll see what happens with him. But Brandon Kiley pointed this out in our group chat. It was like, as soon as Worthy goes down, all of a sudden it's basically the exact same like wide receiver room that you had in 2024. Like, you just swapped a couple of guys out, but it's kind of the same thing. Like, we're excited for Tyquan Thornton. Like, Tyquan Thornton could make an impact in this receiving room, but Tyquan Thornton's not going to come out here and have like 1,200 yards. Like, that's not why we were excited about Tyquan Thornton, Rocky. And Hollywood Brown, you know, we saw him make the big play tonight, but other than that, like, he was still frustrating. He had 2 early drops in the game. One of them was nearly intercepted. And then after that, it was like they were trying to do a lot of the Worthy stuff with Brown, and that's really not his game. Like I know Xavier Worthy is small and not necessarily like a tackle breaker, but he's got the shiftiness and the speed to make a guy miss and then get into the field and boom, like, he can create that way. Hollywood's not really that guy. Like, Hollywood's always been like a straight line, deep down the field type of wide receiver who can do a little bit of other stuff. Like, that's not just what he is. But he is not the type of guy that's going to catch something at the line of scrimmage and like make a dude miss with the shiftiness and then like take off and break away for 30 yards. Like, he is not that kind of player and has never really been that kind of player. So that was frustrating. And then like Juju had a couple of nice moments, but Juju is what Juju is. And we know exactly what Juju is. And then Thornton's going to be in the mix here and there, but all of a sudden this wide receiver room feels thin. And then, Travis Kelce has the touchdown on the broken play, and that's great. And you love to see that stuff, but that was only his second catch of the game. And prior to that, he had one reception for 10 yards. And that's because, the Chargers defense is trying to key in on Kelce a little bit, especially with Worthy out of the game, but also he's old, Rocky. Like, he's old. He's not the same kind of player that can just win any matchup, that can go toe to toe with Derwin James now and win one-on-one matchups like that. And so it's really frustrating, but what could make all of that easier is what you were saying about the offensive line. If the offensive line is dramatically improved. And I do think Josh Simmons had a couple of rough moments tonight too, but he looked like a rookie left tackle getting his first regular season start in the NFL. The positive things that Josh Simmons tonight made me like just through the roof excited about his potential as a player. Like, Jawan Taylor was flat out god awful tonight, to the point where if we keep doing this, and I'm even willing to like concede, Rocky, that it's the knee issue. And then he was talking last week about like having to get it drained, like when they got to Brazil and stuff because of the pressure and the long flight and stuff like that. Like, okay, he might not be ready to go. So what do we have Jalen Moore for? Like, why isn't Jalen Moore out there? Because Jawan Taylor tonight, it wasn't just that he was getting smoked off the line of scrimmage. It's that he was getting penalties left and right. Like, he wasn't just getting beat. It's that even on positive plays, he was hurting the Chiefs, and he did it over and over again tonight. I'll eat the Josh Simmons penalties because the potential that he showed is everything that we could have ever wanted in him as a draft pick. But Jawan Taylor was just straight up awful tonight. We can get to Kingsley in a minute, but I know you're ready to rip it on Jawan Taylor. And he was, man. Like, I was willing to give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt on this and like say Jawan's the guy, and Jalen Moore, we love Jalen Moore as our backup guy, but he was awful tonight. Like, I would have pulled the plug on Jawan Taylor at halftime, and the Chiefs just refused to do it.
Oh, 100%. For some reason, they I don't know if it's because he's making $20 million a year, or if they just see something in that the rest of us can't possibly see, or they just feel like he's the veteran. And so it's beyond me, because the man, he's so high. Like you could say it's his knee. I don't think it's his knee, because if you go back, this isn't an issue for this season. This is an issue going back to 2 seasons ago. This issue goes back to when he was in Jacksonville, when he was in Florida, right? Like he's always been too upright. He's always had bad stance, bad hands, get poor leverage, and he tries to overcompensate. That's why he gets out of his stance so fast and gets the false starts, is because he knows he has to overcompensate in order to play in this league. He's not good enough. Like, that's the simple fact of it. I'm sure he's a great teammate. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a hard worker. I'm nothing bad about him. But purely as a football player, he is not good enough to start in the National Football League, especially for a team who has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and has Super Bowl aspirations, right? Like, you are legitimately just handcuffing yourself on an entire half of the offensive line every single play that you have him in there. Like, why do you have Jawan Moore if you're not going to use him when Jawan Taylor isn't good enough? Like Moore needs to get the start next week against Philadelphia, because Philadelphia will eat his ass also, like they did in the Super Bowl.
And that deep play to Hollywood Brown where I tweeted this out at the exact same time as our friend Pete Sweeney. It was that it reminded me of, like, I think it was 2018 against the Baltimore Ravens, like 4th down, Mahomes rolls to his right and just rips one across his body to Tyreek Hill coming back across the field. And that's like what that play was to Hollywood Brown late in the game. Like, it was just Mahomes going out there, like saying like, Like you might win this game, but you're not going to win this game because I'm not going to out here trying to make plays. But like if you watch that play, the reason Mahomes immediately had to take off and run towards the sideline is because Kingsley just gets smoked by Khalil Mack. Like never stood a chance. And Kingsley wasn't great tonight. And that's going to be a problem too. But I think I feel like guard is more manageable than the tackle situation. So if it's a matter of, do you want Jalen Moore to play left guard or right tackle? I would rather see Jalen Moore play right tackle, and you try to manage the Kingsley stuff as much as you can. Because if Josh Simmons continues to improve, and I fully expect him to do that, then I think you can manage left guard much more than you can manage right tackle just being an issue all season long. Like, that just simply cannot happen. And so, yeah, Kingsley still even more than a work in progress. Like Kingsley, it might be a problem too. Maybe Mike Caliendo needs to go out there. I don't know, Rocky. But it was just frustrating because while the offensive line like did at times give him a little bit of time, you could still see some of the same issues popping up. And early in the game, like, he finally hits on that deep shot to Tyquan Thornton too. But the two early shots that he took to Tyquan Thornton were off because of early pressure, because Mahomes dropped back and he had to get rid of it earlier than he wanted to. And so those throws just weren't there, even though Tyquan Thornton was open. Like, that's what you can't have. And it doesn't have to be elite. Like, this doesn't have to look like how the Eagles offensive line and the Cowboys offensive line looked last night, which both those offensive lines looked incredible last night. But it just can't be that. Like, you just got to give him some time. For the love of God, please give him some time so he can actually complete something that's further than 5 yards down the field.
Well, 100%. And I think the reason why, like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, if it's going to be Kingsley or Taylor that gets cycled out for Moore, it has to be Taylor. If not just because Taylor's that bad, because Kingsley was pretty bad tonight. It is the positional importance, but it's also the fact that Mahomes handles pressure coming up the middle better than he handles pressure coming from the edge. Like, Mahomes, if he has pressure, he wants to get outside of the pocket, run around, try to make a play happen, right? He's going to bail out of the pocket. He's going to look to run up he's going to use the aggression of the interior defender against them and find a lane to run up, or he's going to get outside the pocket and find a way to make a play. When there's pressure on the outside and there's outside containment discipline, which we'll talk about on the defensive side of the ball and some of the lack of that today for the Chiefs, when there's pressure from the outside and outside containment discipline, that's when you see Mahomes have some of the issues that he had when he tried to get outside of the pocket. And the Chargers did a good job in more than one occasion of corralling him and sacking him, right? And so I think because Mahomes handles interior pressure better than edge pressure, he handles both fine, but if you're going to choose one, you'd rather have him avoid interior pressure than edge pressure anyway. So because of that, and because of positional importance, it has to be more in for Taylor. Like, it has to. Like, there's like to me, like, this is like if you want to have a chance to beat the Eagles next week, then Taylor can't start at right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw tonight simply isn't good enough to beat that Philadelphia Eagles team. And they had some issues last night too, Rocky.
Oh yeah.
But the Cowboys looked a lot better offensively than the Chiefs did tonight. So it's going to be on the Chiefs whether or not they can actually exploit the issues that the Eagles show on Thursday night. But before we move to the defensive side of the ball, I do want to talk about the Chiefs running backs a little bit here. We're not to week 1 yet. I'm not going to write the Chiefs running game off, Rocky. But man, Marion Hampton didn't even have a huge game tonight, but he looked pretty good. Like, when he got opportunities, he looked like, oh, that's a bona fide bell cow running back. And this running back draft class, that's supposed to be the deepest running back draft class that we've ever seen. And we're seeing all these rave reviews out of training camps and preseason highlights and all of these special players. And Chiefs are just trotting out these same dudes, Rocky. And I just find myself getting frustrated over and over again that they just refuse to go try to find a difference maker in the backfield. And Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are fine. But man, like Kareem just has no juice anymore. Isaiah Pacheco, when he hits the hole, like he can show the pop and he runs hard and, he's got some explosiveness back and he looks like he's got the juice that he didn't have at the end of last season. But at the end of the day, like you see so many things that he leaves on the field because he just doesn't have the skill level that like a top tier NFL running back has. And it's frustrating because it just feels like they've totally abandoned that part of the offense. And Brashard Smith, I mean, to his credit, was getting snaps tonight. He didn't have any impact in the game, really. He really sold the fake screen on that Kelsey touchdown play. But like he didn't, maybe he does have a bigger role as we head into the regular season. But it's just frustrating because I just feel like they could get so much more out of this running game if they would just invest in the position. And it would be a lot more fun. Like when Xavier Worthy goes down, if you have a Travion Henderson in the backfield who can be explosive as hell and also create in the passing game. And the Chiefs just simply haven't had that in a long time. And so when your pass catchers aren't good enough, and your running backs aren't good enough, it's kind of hard to play good offense, Rocky.
Oh, 100%. It's hard to play good offense when your running backs aren't good enough. And I mean, we saw with Isaiah Pacheco tonight the same thing that we always see with him, which is a lack of vision, right? It's just always been an issue. It's always been there. He just
puts his head down and tries to
every time
like a cannonball, just run straight forward and bulldoze.
And there was a moment where Kurt Warner kind of threw him under the bus a little bit. It was like, he probably could have got even more of that run if he would have just followed his blockers, kind of thing. And that's always been the thing with Isaiah Pacheco. And I think he developed it in college. I think because he did not have an offensive line in college and he had to get what he could get. And he did not have any time to wait for blocks to develop. That being said, bro, you're 4 years removed from that. Right? Like you're an NFL running back. You got to at some point evolve as a player. And yeah, it'd be super nice if the Chiefs had a legitimate bell cow running back. It'd be super nice if Brett Veach found a way to be like, oh, hey, Keyshawn Junkins, you don't want to play for Cleveland? Let's trade for him and bring him into Kansas City. And then I don't care.
Give him his contract. I think we're screwed there.
Well, there we go. Trade for him anyway. Who cares? I don't care. Do whatever you got to do to get a legit running back in here. But here's the problem. Is that the Chiefs don't care about running backs on offense. Like Spags said it. He's like, in practice, we don't.
I know, but what if we had Jamal Charles again? You're telling me they wouldn't make it work? Like they wouldn't figure it out?
No, I agree. If they had Jamal Charles, I'm sure they would run the ball more. I don't think that Andy Reid cares that he doesn't have a Jamal Charles because he wants to pass the ball anyway. And I think that's dumb, personally. Like, I think, 110%, you should go out and try to find a Jamal Charles, especially in this running back draft class that we had. But I don't think that the Chiefs coaching staff places a premium on running the football anymore. I think they think that they have Patrick Mahomes as the greatest quarterback of all time, and they're just going to ride that hot hand for as far as it will take them in their careers. But I think I think it's a mistake because you know what helps a quarterback be really, really good? An awesome running attack that keeps the defense honest, right? And so yeah, it's frustrating.
I don't even disagree with that. Like, yes, like keep the ball in Mahomes' hands most of the time, but also it doesn't even, I'm not even asking for a running back that can take 20 carries a game. Like, just give me somebody who can catch it out of the backfield and turn this, because you know what helps when the Chiefs get stuck in this short, quick pass offense? You know, it would help a running back who can catch a 6-yard pass and turn it into 60. Like that would make a significant difference on the offensive side of the ball. The Chiefs haven't had that in a long, long time. And it would just be so much fun if they would just put like any kind of emphasis in trying to find that kind of player. Like, I don't know if it's how the Clyde pick burned them or what, but they simply just haven't even tried to address it since then. But on the defensive side of the ball, I see tons of comments coming in. We'll try to get to a few of your observations before we get out of here tonight. So thank you guys. As always, please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Head over to our YouTube page. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Foolish Club Media. We're doing nightly stuff there this season. So Nightly Fix coming your way live Monday through Friday from 10 to 11. Or Monday through Thursday, actually. So be on the lookout for that. We're having tons of fun doing those shows, and we got tons of other like daily content coming out on the feed. So really appreciate your guys' support as we head into our second year here. But we need you to step up and keep supporting us so we can keep doing this stuff and keep having fun conversations talking about football with our guys. But on the defensive side of the football, Rocky, it was, I think, not quite as frustrating as the offense for me, but still really frustrating. And some of this, we probably should have. I know we expected the Chamari Connor stuff, but a lot of the other stuff we probably should have been a little bit more aware of and like in tune with, just because of the circumstances that we talked about. But I think it was more like wishful thinking and just hoping it will work out. And the Chiefs' evaluation and coaching and everything would wind up managing to work out all the kinks and all that stuff. And I'm still not saying that it can't wind up doing that, but it was just all bad tonight, Rocky. Like we talked about heading into the season, like how important the communication is in the Steve Spagnuolo defense, to be able to disguise the coverages, disguise the blitzes, do all of these important things and all of these components that make Steve Spagnuolo defenses so special. It just was chaos tonight, man. Like there was just not enough communication. There was just guys missing assignments left and right. At the end of the game, Justin Herbert, 3rd and 14. Chris Jones's clear assignment is to play the outside. He goes AWOL, plays inside, looking to win and get a sack and try to end the Chargers drive that way and give the Chiefs another possession. Instead, Herbert just rolls out, easily runs for the first down. And then we see Drew Tranquil scream at him before the game's over, because that is bogus, Chris. Like, honestly, like if we're being totally honest here, Rocky, like Chris, that's old school Chris Jones, who just goes out here and sack hunts at key moments of the game. You're a future first ballot Hall of Famer now. Like you're one of the faces of the franchise. Like play your assignment and you force a 4th down. Chargers punt the ball, and you at least get one more opportunity to go try to win the football game. They did not get that opportunity because Chris Jones just decides, oh, I can beat this guy one-on-one, and just does his own thing, and he gets totally smoked because of it, and the Chiefs are 0-1 now.
Oh, and a lot of 100%, like Chris Jones going rogue is 100% indefensible in that moment. I mean, you like literally it's 3rd and long. You just have to play your assignment and keep containment on him, right? And part of that could be that, okay, so Chris Jones is by trade an interior defensive lineman, doesn't really matter too much on passing plays, which lane he chooses, but it does matter when you're playing on the edge, Chris. And if you're going to play on the edge, and you have to know your assignment, and no one player, as big of a superstar as they are greater than the whole and greater than the team and the scheme, right? You have to play within the framework of the defense if you're going to be out there. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how good you are, because otherwise you see things happen like what happened on that play. But before all that, the Chiefs never should have found themselves in that situation, right? They came out with lead in their ass. 100% they did. The entire team did, but the defense, especially on that first drive, they were so slow to the ball. They were so slow to react. Nobody knew where they were supposed to be. And Chamari Connor, like, I'm sorry, like, get him off the field. Like, what is he doing in the slot? Like, we saw this song and dance last year, and we were screaming at the top of our lungs. He's a horrible slot defender. So what do? You go out there and you man him up on Ladd McConkey in the slot. 3rd and 8, crucial 3rd and 8. The Chiefs need to get out the field to get the ball back. He lines up 10 yards off of McConkey because McConkey's been roasting him all night. He hasn't given him that much padding. And so what's McConkey do? He runs 8 yards, and he still has 2 yards of cushion, catches the ball, and picks up.
I don't understand how somebody wasn't
ever.
I don't understand how somebody wasn't like Jamari Conner, play up close to the line of scrimmage. Why are you doing this? They did that to him multiple times, Rocky.
Yeah, 100%.
Multiple times. Oh, 3rd and 7. Let me play 9 yards off and give you enough cushion to easily pick up the first down.
Like you're getting carved up by Quentin Johnston and Will Dissly in this game. Like, if that's not an indictment of your secondary, then I don't know what is. Ladd McConkey is an extremely talented wide receiver, and the Chiefs should have just had McDuffie shadowing him all night. I don't think that there should have been a single snap where McDuffie wasn't on Ladd McConkey. But the Chiefs just didn't like. The Chargers had 3 quality wide receivers out there today, and the Chiefs didn't have an answer for it. They didn't. Jamari Conner can't cover in space for the life of him. He's not agile enough. He doesn't stop on a dime. He bites on every double move. He's too slow. Jalen Watson was getting burned out there left and right tonight. He didn't look right. And when they were playing zone, nobody knew when and who is supposed to switch off in the zones on that big deep crossing route that Ladd McConkey had where he was wide open. It's because Jamari Conner didn't switch. McDuffie released him, and Conner didn't switch off and drive down in the zone. There was multiple plays where people were going the wrong direction. Like, they had no idea who was on first on defense in the secondary. And then the pass rush could not get home unless Spags dialed up some sort of pressure. And that's a problem. If you cannot win straight up with your pass rush and you have to continually call cover 0 or disguise a blitz from a linebacker or the secondary or something like that in a 4-3 defense, it's only a matter of time before you run out of cards to play. And they're like, oh, we saw that one a quarter ago. We're going to hit the quick out pattern here, which we saw Justin Herbert do. Like, you have to be able to win straight up, or else eventually it's going to bite you in the ass.
So I want to talk about the pass rush and the defensive line. And I know we already talked about Chris Jones and his decision at the end of the game, but before we move off of the secondary, the Jamari Conner stuff, obviously annoying and frustrating because we've got literally an entire regular season and Super Bowl run of film on why Jamari Conner is not a good enough slot defender. I was not expecting Jalen Watson to be as bad as he was tonight because we've got a large sample size of Jalen Watson being a very good player. He struggled. The communication wasn't there. McDuffie had a couple of nice moments, but then even McDuffie looked out of position a couple of times tonight. And then Christian Fulton gets more snaps in the second half than he did in the first half. He only played like 6 snaps in the first half for whatever reason, and it wasn't working. And so it felt like maybe they were going to try to get him in the mix more in the second half, but then he had some rough moments. And this is a guy who hasn't played a ton yet because he was basically out for all of training camp. And so I think the secondary can obviously get better. What worries me is the Chiefs have no depth at linebacker. Drew Tranquil leaves this game for a little bit. He winds up coming back, but they have no depth at linebacker. And Tranquil had 2 sacks tonight. Like, Tranquil actually had a really good game. Nick Bolton did not have a good game, but that's kind of, fresh off of a contract extension, not really what Chiefs fans want to see, but that's kind of like what we come to know from Nick Bolton. Like, Nick Bolton has some games where you're like, Nick Bolton's a really good player. And then Nick Bolton has some games where he gets exposed in coverage because he's not very good at that. And that's always been his thing, but they trust him as a defensive leader. And I just think that the big problem too, it's not Jamari Conner's still like standing is one of the biggest red flags in the Chiefs secondary for me, is that this safety room doesn't look good enough right now. I think Jaden Hicks is still going to be a really good player for the Chiefs. I think Jaden Hicks looks like he was overwhelmed out there tonight because he is a very young player trying to step into a role that has usually been reserved for guys that have been in the league for years in Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed. And I think there's going to be some significant growing pains with that, but I'm not even upset with Jaden Hicks because I still think that he made some plays tonight, and I still think Jaden Hicks can be a good player for the Chiefs. I just don't know why the idea was like Brian Cook is good enough too, because it's basically Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook, and we've never seen a lot out of Brian Cook. Like, we've never seen anything overwhelming about Brian Cook that makes us believe like, oh, Brian Cook's legit. Like, he's fine. He's a fine NFL safety. I wouldn't even say like he's an average at best NFL safety, probably a little bit below average. And then when you have a player as young as Jaden Hicks, who is trying to take on as much of the defense as he is, then that's a recipe for your safety room really having issues. And Shamari Connor did rotate a little bit, I think, at safety tonight too. But now this safety room looks like it's one of the youngest in the NFL. And the communication problems in the secondary are still frustrating because while your secondary is really young, it's like these guys have been in this system for years now. And so I don't put that on Jaden Hicks because he was a rotational player last year who's stepping into a role now in year number 2 that's usually reserved for a guy who like really, really knows NFL football. And so there's still going to be some growing pains with him as a player. I'm more annoyed with Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie and Brian Cook, because those are the guys that have been here. Like, those are the guys that have been in it, and they're supposed to be the leaders of the secondary. You don't have Justin Reed anymore. So somebody's got to step up and be the one that's communicating in the secondary and figure things out, because it was bad tonight and it was frustrating to watch. Like, you can't play Steve Spagnuolo's defense with that poor of communication in your secondary, because it was all night long.
100%, because when he's bringing extra rushers, you have less defenders back there. So if one person is out of place, then there's an entire quadrant of the field that's wide open, right? You just can't do that in the NFL. And you're 100% right about Brian Cook and Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie, and they've been in the system. There is no excuse for them to not be a gelled, cohesive unit. They played so much football together, right, at this point. And so the secondary looks to be a work in progress, which is disappointing because it's a veteran secondary in the sense that they played a lot of football games together. It's the safety room. Maybe it's not good enough. Like Jaden Hicks is a good player. Like you said, he's still green, but Brian Cook's not good enough to play opposite of a green enough guy like Jaden Hicks. Like, you need a stronger veteran presence there. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, like, there was not all 3 levels of the Chiefs defense in this game. You could just say it wasn't good enough. Like, the pass rush was not good enough in this game.
Let's talk about the pass rush now, because that was disappointing. Simply like, and we knew this was a problem, but we were kind of hoping that some of this stuff would be mitigated by the young players. And this defense, for the first time in a few years, they're really, really relying since like the overhaul in what was it, like 2022, like they're really, really relying on young players this season in a way that they haven't in a few years. But they've never had to do it along the defensive line the way that they're doing it right now, where like Ashton Gelati was playing meaningful snaps tonight because they don't have enough bodies there. And we know what Mike Dana is. Like, he's a solid defensive lineman, but Mike Dana is not going to generate a lot of pressure. Mike Dana is a guy that's going to get a sack every now and then because the guys around him are opening things up. George Karlaftis is a hustle sack guy. When the coverage is great, George might sneak his way into 8 to 10 sacks a season, but George isn't a guy that's going to blow you away at the snap of the football. And then we're banking on Charles Omenihu really making an impact, which I don't know, Rocky. I didn't hear Charles Omenihu much tonight. I was looking for him. I saw him out there. I just didn't see him do a whole hell of a lot. And then, maybe they get something in Omar Norman Lott, but he wasn't overly impressive in the preseason. He put on weight because he was a smaller interior defensive tackle. And then but he was an explosive pass rusher from the interior, but then he put on weight to try to play bigger at the NFL. And in the preseason looked kind of slow. So like, it's you're back down to Chris Jones and teams being like, okay, well, we don't respect any of these dudes. And so if we're just fine double and triple teaming Chris Jones all the time, and then Chris Jones is going to try to do everything he can to try to win, but we don't respect anybody else because we know we can win one-on-one matchups with them, then you wind up having the blitzes. Then you wind up getting burned on those because you're doing them too often. Instead of them being surprised, like gotcha blitzes, like they are when the Chiefs are at their best, you do it a little too often, and it's easier to read and it's easier to diagnose, and that's how you get burned. And that's what Justin Herbert was doing to the Chiefs all night tonight. He knew they couldn't generate pressure up front, so he would identify the blitzes, or he would at least feel them coming and get rid of the football. And they still wound up sacking Justin Herbert, I think, 3 times tonight, but it still wasn't good enough. Like it still didn't. They got to it, but it was always blitzes. Like it was always the blitzes that got there. It wasn't the pressure just disrupting him. Like Justin Herbert was dropping back and having time, unless Spags blitzed the hell out of him all night long. He did not have to get moved off of his spot. He did not have to get made uncomfortable. And Rocky, like this secondary can't win if they don't generate pressure up front. And then, and also the same way goes, players like George and Mike Dana can't win if the secondary doesn't hold up and cover guys. And so it was all bad tonight. And it was all just like kind of catastrophic, honestly. And I still think they had a couple of good series to start the second half. I still think overall this is a talented defensive unit, but I'm even more worried about the pass rush than I am about the secondary at this point after the first game of the season.
Well, especially because it's not like the Chargers offensive line was just this like juggernaut offensive line. They're missing their best player in Rashawn Slater, right? Like Trey Pipkin isn't very good. Mekhi Becton.
Joe Alt looks like a really good player. Like,
well, okay, so yeah, Joe Alt's a stud, right? But I mean, okay, you still have 4 other guys on the line, right? Like Mekhi Becton looked fat and out of shape and was in and out injured all night long. Like they just didn't. They're not an overly talented offensive line. They just aren't. Like they have a good young player in Joe Alt. That's true, but other than that, like this is an offensive line that a good pass rush should be able to take advantage of in key situations, and they didn't. It just wasn't there. Like the Chiefs just don't have the pass rush juice that they need to have. And I like Karlaftis as a pass rusher too. I think that there are times where he gets off the edge fast enough, but he's always a fingertips reach away from getting to the quarterback in time to get a sack. And part of that is because there's no pressure coming from the other side of the line. And that, I mean, it's all bad. It's all bad. Like you said today, there wasn't a single unit that played good enough today and played good enough defensive football. The Chiefs on the whole didn't play good enough football to win this football game, and they're going to have to play better. Do I think they're going to play better? Yeah. Is this the best football the Chiefs are going to play? No, this might be the worst game the Chiefs play all season, but until they show us better, like what else are we to expect? Like what will give them the fact that this was a weird early season game where they traveled internationally and, and maybe they're still a little rusty, slow starts to the season, blah, 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 blah. But all that what you're saying that is the Los Angeles Chargers had the exact same situation handed to them. And they came out looking a lot more prepared and played a lot better football today than the Kansas City Chiefs did. And so now we have back-to-back games where the Chiefs have had to travel in big game scenarios where they didn't look good and they came out slow. And I don't know, man. You got to play better football than what you're putting on the product you're putting on the field right now.
And I will say, like the way the Chargers played tonight, like I'm more fearful of this Chargers team than I have been any other version of a Justin Herbert led Chargers team, because they got real coaches now too, Rocky. Like those guys can go toe to toe with any coaching staff in the NFL. Like Harbaugh and those dudes, they are really, really good at what they do. And I think that is scary. Like the Chargers are a legitimately good football team, and they were really impressive tonight. And they the Chargers flat out outcoached the Kansas City Chiefs tonight. Except for, I guess, as Matt Derrick pointed out, the Mayday field goal call just before the half was pretty badass for the Chiefs. But
yeah,
other than that,
awesome.
I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and company really got outcoached by Jim Harbaugh and his staff tonight. So it's a really impressive win for the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs fall to 0-1, and now we look ahead to week 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a Super Bowl rematch. We'll see if this lights a fire under them. We'll see if they figure some things out this week, because the Eagles, even in a win against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night, the Eagles certainly didn't look like the same team that won the Super Bowl last year. They certainly looked like they had some depth problems. Like they have some possible issues on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what comes up in week 2. But before we get out of here, Rocky, anything else you want to say as we put a bow on this thing, as the Kansas City Chiefs fall to 0-1 for, I think, just the 3rd time in the Andy Reid era with the Chiefs?
Is it the fact that we're so used to seeing Patrick Mahomes do great things that when the Chiefs win, we don't necessarily notice him as much as when he does amazing things and then the Chiefs lose anyway, and you're like, Mahomes tried to do everything he could do when they still lost? Like, I feel like that's the case. I feel like Mahomes plays this way pretty regularly, but he seemed exceptionally good tonight in certain moments.
And I hope that's the case for the season. I hope that that's what we're going to see more from him, because last season it felt like it was impossible to get that version of Patrick Mahomes last year. So, like, that's encouraging. I think that's the Josh Simmons effect. Like, tonight, it's like, oh, Josh Simmons already made that big of a difference. Like, we're actually seeing Patrick Mahomes make spectacular, mind-blowing plays. Like, we didn't get that for a full calendar year last year. And so I think that's going to be a difference. And that's what could be so special about this team, is that, like, even when they mess up, like, we've seen Mahomes win that game lots of times because of plays like that. Like, we've seen him find a way to pull it off. And that's why their margin for error is so much wider than every other team in the league. And I still, like, have faith that they can figure this thing out. We'll see what happens with Worthy. Andy Reid said after the game that basically they got to get back home, and they'll kind of figure out what's going on with Worthy and, like, the long-term issues with that. And so it's probably going to be, I would bet it's like Sunday, like Adam Schefter report or something on Xavier Worthy before we actually, like, get anything, like, definitive on him, or like Monday at the latest. If we find out if it sounds like he's going to miss significant time. I saw some of the Twitter doctors speculating, like, like best case scenario, dislocated shoulder is like a couple weeks or something. So I don't know. We'll see with Worthy. I think it does drastically change things, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs are better than how they played on opening night, and they simply have to play better as an all-around team because they weren't good enough on offense or defense. But thank you guys again for hanging out with us. Thank you everybody who tuned in tonight. We're very excited about the season despite an opening night loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we're going to have a lot of wins this season. I'm still very optimistic about the outlook of this team, even after an annoying week 1 loss to the Chargers. So please subscribe, rate, and review. We got tons of stuff coming your way on Foolish Club Media this season. So thank you guys so much for the support. And here's to a long and hopefully more fun 2025 Kansas City Chiefs regular season. He's Rocky Magaña. I'm Steven Serda. We'll talk to you guys soon.